You know, one thing I gotta love about the UK is the fact that you are taxed to your throat.
The biggest scam in this country is taxes, right?
Council tax is going to rise for everyone.
We pay taxes for the money that we make.
And councils can also ask for additional hikes if they're facing bankruptcy. For fuck's sake, here we go.
We pay taxes for the money that we spend. We pay fucking taxes for the things that we own.
I have seen nothing like this in my entire life. Nothing at all, baby.
We pay a higher tax burden compared to some countries in return for having good public services. But when these public services are struggling and in the process of even being privatized, you have to ask yourself, where is that money actually going?
Tax people, if they're living in the UK, tax them a little bit more. But if they want to leave, they are also going to tax you a lot more.
An increase in what we have to pay, but a decrease in the services that we're going to receive.
Am I right to be shocked? Is this too much? Are other people paying this much? I'm so confused.com right now.
We pay more, we get less. We pay more, we get less. Pay more, get less. Honestly, I am so wound up.
Welcome to the UK, where you get taxed for earning, taxed for spending, and probably taxed for breathing too. From income to inheritance, it's like the government looked at every stage of life and thought, we'll take a cut of that. And while politicians promise relief, the only thing most people feel is lighter wallets and heavier stress.
The biggest scam in this country is taxes, right? We pay taxes for the money that we make. We pay taxes for the money that we spend. We pay fucking taxes for the things that we own that we've already paid taxes for. We've already taxed fucking money.
So it's just been announced that council tax is going up by 5% in April, which means that the 5% increase we got was not an increase. It was basically like, cheers, mate, but it's going up again. So it's going up again. And then also, unemployment has gone up to 4.4%, and they're surprised. Let's be for real. The UK right now is the ghetto. We're getting so many increases and salary is still an issue. Salaries are still not going up. How do they expect people to survive? Seriously, how? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the 5% increase?
Well, there we go. Council tax is going to rise for everyone to the maximum amount allowed for the next 3 years at 5%, and councils can also ask for additional hikes if they're facing bankruptcy. For fuck's sake, here we go. When is it the additional 5% gets added every year? I can't remember what month it is. Rachel Reeves, just a few moments ago, said on an interview on Sky News that further spending may be funded by rises in council tax. She also went on to say and point out that councils don't have to do that. But they're kind of being forced to fucking do it. And they're gonna fucking do it. Like, they're not gonna hike it up to the maximum amount. Of course they fucking will. They're greedy. She also refused to rule out the possibility of other tax rises being announced in the October budget. She is totally fucking this up. She is winging this. Literally winging it. It seems like someone has lied on their CV to get into a job here that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're just winging it day by day. This is what it feels like what's going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. For fuck's sake.
This is how much you would need to earn to take home £10,000 a month in 3 major cities. In Dubai, UAE, £120,000 a year gross. In New York City, America, £136,000 gross. In London, UK, £205,000 gross. The UK is extremely bad vibes. They want everyone poor and on the same level, need to escape this country. The theory behind the UK tax system is that we pay a higher tax burden compared to some countries in return for having good public services. But when these public services are struggling and in the process of even being privatized, you have to ask yourself, where is that money actually going? Yes, Americans do have to pay for their own healthcare, and the situation with that can be ridiculous, but at least you can see through their higher salaries that they're keeping some more money for themselves. For us, sometimes it feels like we have tax burdens similar to the Scandinavian countries versus the American countries, but we have services that are not anywhere as good as them. So you have to ask yourself, Where is it going?
UK taxes are honestly the biggest joke. So I found out that directors in my company make around 125k. So I just thought it'd be fun to see what the take home would be. So I used a take home calculator and I found out that the take home would be around 78k. Over 42,000 gets taken in taxes. Like, that is so insane to me. Like, honestly, what's the point of even earning more then?
I have seen nothing like this in my entire life. Nothing at all, baby. It's in the Chronicle today, which is Newcastle's paper, saying HMRC ought to introduce grass-up family members tax reward scheme in the UK. HMRC want you to grass up your friends and family if you think they are not paying enough tax. How ridiculous is that, baby? Could you imagine just one afternoon ringing up HMRC? Hello? Wallace isn't paying enough PAYE. Since I've told you that, will that mean that I get some money off my tax, baby? I mean, I know the country's trying to rebuild after the last 15 years where it's been chaotic. But instead of putting family members against family members, why doesn't the government just tax these huge multinational companies properly? Isn't that the best thing to do, baby? Cheers.
Just got this year's council tax bill and honestly, I'm raging, and I knew I was going to be raging. We get 2 months off a year, right, where we don't have to pay council tax. We are paying council tax. It's just spread over 10 months rather than 12, right? Don't go fooling yourself. But we've had a 4.8% increase in council tax. An increase in what we have to pay, but a decrease in the services that we're going to receive. Because we live in rip-off Britain. I'm absolutely sick of it. I'm not surprised. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for the council tax letters, and it's just filled us with more rage. The country is on its arse. Yeah, we pay more, we get less. We pay more, we get less. Pay more, get less. Honestly, I am so wound up. People can't afford to put food. People can't afford to put food in the bellies. They can't afford to heat the house, but they have to pay more council tax. Because if you don't pay your council tax, you go to prison. Honestly, this country is messed up. I wouldn't mind paying more. I wouldn't mind paying more if the services that we got were to a decent standard. Down here in London, yeah, especially the borough of Croydon, load of rubbish. Honestly, it's a load of rubbish. The place is scruffy, it's filthy, the crime levels are high. You can't even get your bins emptied, right? You're paying more for emergency services, I know that, but apparently you wait about 6 hours for an ambulance these days and then you're left on the floor of a corridor. Yeah, corridor in a hospital. That's what we're paying for, guys. That's what we're paying for. Honestly, this country sucks big buttholes and I'm sick of it. Anyway, I'm off to calm down.
Okay, real quick, okay, because I need to check something right now. I just got my council tax bill. Monthly, the bill has gone up to £172 a month. What? For a 2-bedroom flat, is that correct? Am I being scammed? Maybe I'm being scammed. I don't understand. What are other people paying for council tax, by the way? For the size of their property, what are people paying? Because honestly, I feel like the calculations are calculating wrong. I had to call the man. He was like, no, that's correct. If I live in inner city London, then yeah, maybe. But I don't. I'm in the sticks. What the hell? £172 a month for a 2-bedroom flat. Am I right to be shocked? Is this too much? Are other people paying this much? I'm so confused.com right now. I'm so confused.com and I'm so annoyed. Anyway, what can I do? I've got to pay it.
You'll be getting your new council tax bill pretty soon, and you're probably expecting an increase in costs of about 5%. But what if I were to tell you that actually, when you consider service level and costs, you're likely to be paying around about 15% more than you're expecting? Let me walk you through why. So if we take the median average last year of £2,000 and we add 5% to it, we get to £2,100 this year. You're now paying £2,100 for the same service you received last year. But that's the point, because you won't get the same service you received last year. Councils right across the country are cutting services. They're reducing bin collections, they're shutting libraries, they're closing community groups, old folks' homes, and all sorts of things. So actually, let's take 10% as a figure. Let's say that councils are reducing their output by 10%. So that £2,000 that you were buying last year, there's now £1,800 being spent. So in other words, we are now paying £2,100 for £1,800 worth of service. That is a 16.7% increase. We are paying more and getting less.
If you live in the UK, then this is all you need to know about the grocery tax that's going to be hitting all UK supermarkets January 1st, 2025. So yes, it's literally what it sounds like. You are going to be taxed on everything that you buy or pick up at the grocery store, similar to how it is in America. However, obviously the fees are going to vary depending on where you're shopping at. So Tesco is going to be different to Aldi, that's going to be different to Lidl, etc. But also charges and fees are going to be dependent by material type. So let's say that you just want to pick up yourself and go to Sainsbury's one day. So let's say that you pop into Sainsbury's and you want to buy your Nan a Christmas card because, hey, Merry Christmas, Nan. You're going to be taxed on top of that because now the supermarket has to pay £250 per tonne to supply the cardboard, to supply the paper. And so because of this dramatic increase to supply and demand, where do you think they're going to get the money from? It's not from their backside. It's going to come from us, the consumer. And that's why we're now going to be taxed on our groceries like the godforsaken Americans. I love living here. And this tax will also include shopping online as well, in terms of online food. So don't think you can slide past that one, babe. And I hate to be that person, but this is just going to make people hate the Labour Party even more. You're telling me that we had 14 years of Tory failure, and this is what you're doing to everyday people. We better wake up and fix up immediately before reform get more seats, bro. I do not want to have to say I told you guys so in the future.
Oh my God, have you heard about the grocery tax in the UK? So let me tell you about it. So from the 1st of Jan 2025, coming soon, we're going to get taxed on our groceries when we go shopping. So the start is on the 1st of Jan 2025, and they're doing it for, I think, recycling purposes, etc. And charges are going to be varying by material type. So like Aldi, Lidl and all these shops, so they will incur a fee of £485 per tonne, while paper and cardboard will be like £215 per tonne. So it's going to increase for them, meaning they're going to increase the prices for us. So we're going to get taxed on groceries. And it's getting ridiculous. So the cost could go up to like 10, 20, 30 pounds per month. And it's getting really ridiculous. Prices are already going up, and now they're increasing all of this as well. We're getting more and more taxes and more different kind of things added. But what difference is it making in the country? Nothing, literally. They're just getting more money, the government, but the average people like us, where are we getting at?
Food shopping at supermarkets in the UK. There's going to be a grocery tax in January. So as soon as Christmas goes, they're going to be asking for a grocery tax on all the stuff you buy, which is going to add more money onto everything you pay out already. Food's already doubled in price. Gas and electric's tripled. Fuel's gone up. Housing prices have gone up. Everything over here, the cost of living, has gone up and up and up. Now they've got the cheek to bring in grocery tax. Getting taxed to go and get your own shopping. Work that one out. And what's that, to be spent abroad on other people? To cover the arse of sending all this fucking money abroad. They're taking the absolute Michael out of the UK British citizens. Literally, soon as Christmas and New Year's over, you've had your fun, we're going to give you grocery tax for buying stuff in a shop. It's absolutely ludicrous that they get away with this. I don't know what you think about this, but they'll tax fresh air soon. Soon they'll be taxing fresh air as soon as you go out the front door. I'm pretty sure of it, the way fucking things are going.
Grocery tax. Have you heard about it? Because it's coming into legal force on the 1st of January 2025. So it's just over a week away. Now, I haven't heard a lot about it. It doesn't seem very well publicised. From what I gather, it's going to be a tax on your groceries. It's going to work out between 56 to 70 pounds a year, approximately. That's what the sort of, the rough figures are. But obviously, knowing the present government, it could be a lot higher. But anyway, it's just another tax. So I suggest that if you want to know more about it, is that you Google it, because they're just trying to justify it. And you're better off finding yourself, to be quite honest. I just wanted to make you aware that things are going to increase from the 1st of January. Okay then, I'll wish you all a Merry Christmas. Take care, keep watching, follow me, and we'll catch up in the new year.
So have you heard about the new grocery tax in the UK? My question is, what would happen if we picked up the items we needed, more than happy to pay for the items we needed, and just walk out? Reason being because tax is a fraud. Being more than happy to pay for the items that we needed, but not wanting to commit fraud yourself by paying the tax until they can prove what that tax is going towards. You're not disagreeing to pay for the item. You're more than happy to pay for the item. You're more than happy to pay for the tax. But you're not more than happy to be committing fraud yourself. And to prevent yourself from committing fraud, they'll need to prove where the tax is going to, and that it's not being used to fund wars and things like that. So this is just telling me that these items are becoming free. Just pick it up. You're not denying to pay. And if we all do that, what they're going to do? What they're going to do? Nothing. Nada. But anyway, with that being said, Angel out. Bye.
Guys, I did not realize how much we actually get taxed in the UK properly. Like, I didn't deep how hefty our taxes are. So I actually started like properly delving into like my payslip, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm 20 now. Like, I need to actually be like on my finance. I went down a rabbit hole of like looking at all the tax brackets and looking at what tax bracket I'm in. Genuinely, I've never been more shocked in my life. After the personal allowance, the majority of us will get taxed at a 20% rate. At first, I didn't think this was that deep, but it is that deep. Like, it's actually a stark amount, and it only gets higher from there. Like, as we grow in our salaries and as we jump into different tax brackets, etc., it becomes pointless because you're only getting taxed way more at a hefty rate. There are literally some people getting taxed at a 45% rate. Like, what the hell? That is so steep. And the worst thing about it is, I don't know if it's just me, but a lot of the time my tax isn't even calculated correctly. It's supposed to be taxed 20%, but I'm getting taxed 23, 22, 25, 24. Like, just let it be 20%. And obviously, like, I'll probably get all of that back at the end of the financial year, but it's kind of annoying. And I've always known that tax in the UK is high because we've all spoken about it. It's one of the reasons why I want to leave the UK. I didn't properly deep until recently, like, a part of my shifts are literally free. Like, I'm literally working a week for free, basically. Like, a week of my shifts is for the government. And obviously, paying taxes, like, we all need to do that. That's how the world works, and that's how countries run. Like, we all do need to contribute into running the country. I believe in that. Like, that makes sense. I just think it's a bit annoying when the tax is so high, but we are not seeing the benefits. Government is talking about how they're too broke to increase doctors' wages, too broke to increase anybody's wages. Teachers, train staff, anybody that's striking has been striking for years. They're only recently, now that Labour, thank the Lord, has come into government, now making those changes and increasing pay. But before that, everybody was struggling and suffering. Where the hell was our money going to if you guys don't have any money to do anything? Back in the day, we saw Boris Johnson just spend money on party, alcohol, and furniture, and it's just like, what the hell? Like, why am I paying this tax if you guys aren't even going to handle the money correctly? Like, give me back my money. Give me back my money. If we could see that this money is being put into schools, into hospitals, into infrastructure, etc., I don't think any of us would care, because it's like, yeah, like, you can take my money because I'm reaping a benefit, but all of us are struggling. You guys are cutting universal credit, you guys are cutting benefits, you're cutting this, you're cutting that, and it's just like, and reduce the tax because we're not getting anything out of it.
So if you are thinking about moving out of the UK, especially to the UAE, for example, I would highly recommend you think about this sooner rather than later, because new UK tax rules are coming into play. October the 30th will be the new budget, and in that they have already said they will be doing something called the exit tax. Now, a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions on this, and it's something that I am picking up in my conversations that I have with new movers. There's a link in my bio if you are thinking about moving to the UAE or setting up a business. But it is something which everyone needs to know, because it's going to be horrible. Basically, what they're trying to do is tax people if they're living in the UK, tax them a little bit more. But if they want to leave, they are also going to tax you a lot more. And by that, I mean, potentially, they will be taxing you on your personal property, even businesses. It might be something called a business exit tax as well. And that will mean that on the date that you actually move, you will have to pay capital gains tax on the sale which wouldn't actually be a sale, off your properties. So if you've got properties in your personal name, it will be as if you sold them on the date that you're moving out, and you would have to pay that capital gains tax before you actually move out of the country. And that is what the exit tax will be. Now, this can be anything from 10% all the way up to like 23, 24%. So it depends on the amount of gain that you have actually made on those properties. You still own the property. However, you don't benefit from moving out of the UK and not paying anything on any of your assets that you have in there at the moment. So if you are thinking about moving, I would highly recommend doing it before the 31st of October, because they haven't announced it yet. They don't know what the date will be. They might have it on that date, which will be very harsh, or they might have it from April 2025. However, if it's something that you're planning already, try and move that date a little bit sooner, just in case. If it means that you just need to get out of the country for a couple of weeks and use that as your moving date before the 31st of October, I would do that if you have got a lot of gain in property. But if you do need to speak to a specialist, then I do have a couple of slots still available in the UAE new company setup thing in the link in my bio. Do go and click that, and we can discuss all of this in detail if it is something that you do want to do.
Hello. So has anyone else seen this fucking pay per mile scheme thing that's been spoken about like in the October budget? Because the whole thing is absolutely wild. So the government are basically saying that you will pay a fee, a tax every single year based on how many miles you cover in your vehicle. So we already pay like road tax. I know it's not road tax anymore, but it's by the by, we already get taxed. You already pay a fortune on insurance that you get taxed on. You get taxed on the fuel that you're paying, your fuel duty. There's a tax on that. You get taxed on literally every single thing to do with your car currently, and they're like, do you know what? We'll add another one for those that cover lots of miles per year. So me as a dog walker who covers like 15,000 miles a year, I won't be able to afford that. They said like the average household, I think they've counted it as like 10,000 miles a year will be like £650 tax a year that you need to pay if you cover 10,000 miles a year, which means that I'll be what, £900 in a year just to go to work. So on top of like everything else that you have to pay, you're going to have to factor in this tax as well, just to go to work. You've got people that commute for a long time, or what about all the people that live outside of London? As I was saying, people who live outside of London, because they can't afford to live in London and they commute to their place of work, they're going to get hefty fines now because they cover a lot of miles. It's just absolutely ridiculous. At this stage, we are living to work. We don't work to live anymore. We will be living to work. They don't want people to be on benefits, but they're also taxing people that need their car to go to work. And I know there's public transport, right? But what if somebody starts work at 4 in the morning? What if they're on night shift? How are they meant to use public transport? It's just ridiculous if you ask me.
You know, one thing I gotta love about the UK is the fact that you are taxed to your throat, right? And this is, it amazes me, okay? And let me just go through some of the taxes that you're liable for in the UK, and then I'll make a few comments afterwards. So say you have a job. Now, if you have a job, you have to pay income tax, which varies from 20% to 45%, and you also have to pay national insurance contributions. It's just a nice way to divide it into a different terminology, but basically it's pretty much the same thing, really. So you've got that, and then also you have other taxes as well. Let's say, you know, the national insurance contributions that I mentioned, your employer needs to pay that too. So both of you pay it. So there's that. Then if you're self-employed, let's say through a limited company, you also have corporation tax to pay. So there is that. Let's say you have a limited company. Say I've got my limited company, right? And I have a certain amount of earnings. So I pay somewhere in between 19 to 25%, depending on my profit range, on the corporation tax. I pay that. Then I also have to pay dividend tax that I take. So, and also if I pay myself, you know, from the profits through pay, then I also have to pay national insurance contributions and also income tax. That's a very interesting way to kind of look at it. Then, also, when you buy anything, the groceries, anything you buy, you're also paying taxes on those. You're paying VAT, technically. So you're taxed in there as well. You buy a property, you pay stamp duty tax. You sell the property, you pay capital gains tax again. Let's say, or for example, and the loveliest of all, inheritance tax. You know, your parents pass away and they pass down their generational wealth to you. You pay inheritance tax on that one as well. This is just an exhaustive list, but also, don't allow me to forget these two lovely ones, which are increasing as well. You rent a property, you pay council tax on that. You want to watch live TV? You have to pay for a TV license. You're just taxed anywhere, you know. Very soon, you're going to have to pay around a pence for every breath that you take. That's the outlook for the UK. But one question remains. See, I don't mind paying taxes where I get something for my taxes. You know, I'm a compliant person. But this is one question that I have. All these taxes that we pay, what are we getting in return? Are we getting an improved quality of life? Do we get a better police force? No, we don't, because, you know, if there's a burglary in your house, the police are nowhere to show up, and they just give you a crime reference number, which is what they generally do in the case of any sort of crimes, depending on what it may be. You want to get a doctor's appointment, you have to wait weeks. You know, the NHS is crumbling down to its knees, and it's always the excuse of, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough money, there's austerity, there is this. You look at anything, you look at unemployment rates, you look at, you know, the range of services that may be available, mental health services, nothing. The quality is deteriorating and is degrading every day, but you have to pay more tax. You just pay more. Just pay the tax, and God knows where this money goes. I mean, we do know where it goes, don't we? But I'm not going to get into that one in this video. Maybe in another video. See you later.
So I have a little story about the UK government and how they're currently screwing me. So back in 2001, I had a little girl. That little girl is now 23 years old. Around 2 years ago, I got a letter off HMRC because I got tax credits when my little girl was born because I was a single parent. And they informed me that in 2002, I was overpaid tax credits. I rang them quite a few times to find out how and why, and couldn't get any answers because obviously tax credits has now ended. So nobody could tell me why, but they expected me to pay. It was over £1,000. And obviously my response was, well, if you can't even tell me how this has happened, how am I supposed to dispute it? Seems a bit unfair to me. Anyway, I do work. I have a couple of other children and I get universal credit to just top up my wages. So around about 18 months or so ago, after arguing about this, they started taking the money that they say I owed from my universal credit, and there was not a damn thing that I could do about it. So at that point, obviously I spoke to them several times, and again, still nobody could tell me anything. So eventually I was advised to do what's called a mandatory reconsideration notice, which means that they basically have to go back, have a look at the circumstances and make a decision on whether or not I owe that money. That was put in October 2024. I was told that it could take a little while for that to be dealt with. At the beginning of April 2025, I finally got a letter saying that it had been dealt with and that they had found that I didn't owe that money after all and that I was going to get it all back. It did say in the letter that it could take up to 6 weeks for me to get that money back. So I waited and I waited and I waited. Eventually 7 weeks had passed, so I gave them a call. And nobody could tell me anything. No idea what you're talking about. I've literally got the letter in front of me. Nobody could find this letter. Anyway, long story short, I phoned and I phoned and I phoned, spoke to many, many different departments, and everybody kept telling me, we don't know what you're talking about. We can't see any sign of this letter anywhere. I eventually phoned nearly 2 weeks ago now and finally got through to someone who said, actually, I have access to a different system that not everybody else can access. And she found this letter. She found the details and said, yeah, you should have had it, but nobody's actually actioned this refund. They've sent the letter, but nobody's bothered to actually action it. She promised me that she was going to ring me back within 3 or 4 days after chasing it up, and she was going to let me know what was going on with it and why I still hadn't had this money back. Because all that time they were still taking that money off me as well. So now they owe me over £1,000. I've actually finished paying off this non-existent debt now, and I want my money back. I didn't get a call back off that woman. Shocker. And I've just phoned again and got through to someone who told me that I just need to be patient. I think I've been very patient. We're now June the 23rd and I've still not even had a call back. And he said, I'll escalate it for you. This has been escalated more times than anything I've ever known, and I am getting sick to death of it. I never owed this money in the first place. It's from 22 years ago, nearly 23 years ago, and I shouldn't have had to pay it in the first place. What is going on within government departments where they can just start randomly taking money off you and you can't control this? They can do what the hell they like for a debt you never owed in the first place. And when they eventually admit they never should have taken it off you, I'm still the one having to do all the phoning and all the chasing to try and get that money back. It is absolutely unacceptable that this is happening. They've had my money now for so long that I should actually be getting the interest on it as well. And I want that money back. I am absolutely up to here with it. That is my money.
The UK tax system isn't just squeezing wallets, it's wringing people dry. From income tax to council tax to VAT on your soggy £4 sandwich, it feels like every pound you earn is already spoken for. And the worst part? Public services are still crumbling, potholes are multiplying, and the NHS is gasping for air. At this point, it's not paying your fair share. It's financial survival with a side of bureaucracy. So, if you've ever looked at your payslip and thought, where is all this money going? You're not alone. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's the most ridiculous tax you've had to pay? And